Oh, yeah, we're about to embark in another tier list. It has been a little bit. As you know, I've done gameplay videos for probably all the 5 stars. There's maybe one that's just not out yet. I've done it, it's just not out yet. Actually, two. Anyway, so I've got a lot of practice in with these characters, and most of the 4 stars I've used as well. But this is inevitably something a lot of people always have a hard time agreeing with because you're not going to make everybody happy. So with that context in mind, I'm sorry if your favorite character is not towards the top of my list. For example, I've seen a lot of defenders of literally any character. And unfortunately, like I've said repeatedly in this game, I actually think there's a lot of quality here, and some of that's just because there's not any content. Like, I could take any characters on this list, really any character, and it doesn't matter who it is. I could take any character and put them on a team. You could take multiple of these characters, 2 of the worst characters on this list, whoever they are. Put them on a team, level them up, of course, give them investment that they need. Just nothing crazy, just a regular investment you give any character, and I could beat anything in this game. So some of that context matters, of course. Like, I think all the characters are good, but the content also doesn't demand anything. All you really need to do is hit a certain level threshold, and then all of a sudden everything is easy. You no longer get one shot anymore, and it's not even about like the stats or anything like that. There's just a system in the game that goes based off of your character level. So with that being said, don't worry too much about this. Like, there's no true meta to this game because, again, there's no requirements for anything anywhere, and maybe that'll change at some point. But there's no real meta here. So anyway, that being said, I want to start off with the brand new Hoshina, because he is the brand new character, fresh on my mind, easily S tier character. In fact, I'll add an SS here. These tier lists can go either way. Like, I could make 15 tiers and separate it really good, or I can make like 5 and separate it kind of like vaguely. But I'll add one more for SS. And we'll just keep it at that. I'm not going to deliberate on this too much. And no, I don't know exactly where they're going to go off the top of my head. I may shuffle it a little bit if I don't like the placements, but we'll go from there. Kaiju number 8. So Kaiju number 8 is actually, I'm not going to talk too much about Hoshina. Just the main thing about Hoshina is he is the strongest damage dealer in the game. Okay, that's the only thing you really need to know. And it's not close either. The only thing that comes even remotely close is Kaiju number 8's gimmicky mechanic where he can delete small Kaiju with 999 damage. That's the only thing that comes close. And so when he gets going, which is just a couple turns after he starts playing, after he throws the ultimate, and before that even, he's still really good because he does adjacent hits and he's able to do solid damage there. When he gets going, his combat skill doing over 100,000 damage is just ridiculous. And then his ultimate also does that. But the main thing is that he's doing that consistently every turn. Is there a fault with that? You could say maybe. Like, you obviously are lacking utility. He's not dual element, dual type, any of that stuff. He's just a single target DPS after that. However, there's not a piece of content in the game he's not like 3-shotting at that point because he just does so much damage. The game isn't ready for a damage dealer of that caliber that can do that every single turn, right? And then secondly, he's probably not plate breaking because of that stuff, but he is also a character that you need to prioritize giving the SP to. So you could maybe, if you really want to nitpick, make that a fault. Say he's SP hungry, but like, okay, that doesn't matter to me and the reason why is because his combat skill is the strongest combat skill in the entire game by a pretty wide margin. The only other skills that you would prioritize using over his combat skill would be a support skill on another character to buff him further. That's it. Like, seriously. And I don't care about wanting to get a utility or action order down or any of these other gimmicky things. Again, I really want to drive home the point that if he's doing over 100,000 damage per turn, I mean, that just supersedes that. Like, there's not really a case for anything else except for super niche scenarios. So that's mostly it. And again, it's kind of hard to say these things because I do think he may age out pretty easily because DPS characters in these games are typically ones that do fall off. Supports and utility characters seem to be the ones that have great longevity, so that remains to be seen. But I do like how he is an adjacent hitter, and then early game, if you need him to be that, like there's some level of customization with him, not customization, but a level of utility with him in that he can do that at least early game. He's kind of like a Kikaru. And then he can shift into just a nuker. And again, that's not just like Ashiro does something similar, but after several turns of build up and then on the ultimate, and she's kind of gimmicky with how it works. Sometimes you're going to get it at the same time. If you got, for example, she really loves to have Akari Minase on her team so she can get the charge rate up. It's just kind of, he's plug and play. He just goes, right? You don't have to worry about that. You have to worry about his resonance, but that's not hard. You just throw his ultimate at the third Kaiju, and it's going to do like 50,000. It's going to delete that Kaiju, and then after that, you get far better value from every other turn afterwards. So might as well just delete the third Kaiju, right? Like, it's that simple. Kaiju number 8. I'm going to put him in S. And the reason why is because basically everything Kaiju wants to do, Hoshina does better. As a single target DPS, Hoshina, again, it's really not fair. But what I will say in Kaiju's defense is, again, he is actually very, very versatile. Firstly, he is a blunt character. There's not a lot of those. So there's that. Some stages you're going to want to have blunt on your team just to get plate breaking. The thing with plate breaking is Hoshina does 130,000. I've seen him do 130,000 without a plate break. Like, so like, it's just dumb. It's actually just stupid, which means he does much more after a plate break. It's just dumb, right? And that's my point. Like, he's just two, three shotting these characters. You don't even need to get the enemy broken. You just go. Anyway, blunt. Some stages will have that for a plate break. He does a number of things that are really good. He's still like the best stat character in the game. In the way that he functions, like he's got all these different bonuses to all these different stats. He's still a stat behemoth. He also technically early game is a better character to invest in than pretty much any other character in the game because he requires minimal investment. He does not require a unipart. He does not require a weapon. I will contend that I do think that's not a great mechanic for the long term with him because other characters will scale better. What if they put some broken uniparts in? He just won't be able to benefit from that, right? So like, but by that point, he'll probably already be replaced by another Kaiju number 8. But anyway, that is a benefit to him, especially early game, where you don't have to invest in that. And Uniparts is kind of an annoying system because I can't tell you how many times I've been annoyed with Uniparts not being unequipable. Instead, they just get removed. It would be so nice if I could just shift them, if I had an inventory for Uniparts. But no, that's not a thing. But it is what it is. Anyway. So aside from that, he does a ton of things. Like he's got stat up increases to basically every stat you would care about. Crit, defense, everything. He also draws aggro to himself. Now, because he does that, even though he gets a defense increase, the taunt thing, even though he gets a defense increase, he still really wants to be alongside a sustain because he gets to a point where he kind of takes too much damage. So you want to put him with like an Esau or something like that. But do you really want 2 blunt characters? Maybe, maybe not. Depends on the circumstance. But he gets to a point where that could be a little bit problematic, but overall still extremely strong. And then he also can break the 100,000 damage barrier on his ultimate. It's just, again, it's only on the ultimate. So like, and again, he does have that gimmicky mechanic on the combat skill. he does have that, but that just kind of doesn't even count. For one, they have to get below 50 already. So there's that. And then 2, it's only on small Kaiju. So it is a fun mechanic, but like I can't really gauge that. It's just a gimmick. Like I don't know what to say about it. So this is where the tier list starts to break a little bit. So I really, really, really like support characters, and I always get annoyed when people make these tier lists, and for whatever reason, the best support characters, even if they're like a lower rarity, in this case they are lower rarity, they wind up lower on the list for some reason, almost like there's a rarity break in here. And so for me, I will put the best characters in the higher tiers. And so she's going in S tier. She is extremely strong. Her damage increase with the morale, then the discreet encouragement attack increase, she just makes a character pop like crazy. Easily a character that you would plug into your team if you're looking for support. Now, there are a couple other considerations, but she is extremely strong for what she does. And again, getting the damage dealt increase is massive. So I value her very highly. In fact, she's the better version of that character in the game, and I don't think it's particularly close either. Hoshina, going to S as well. So he is kind of designed in a way where he wants to be your best friend. He wants to be your battle buddy. And you pair him with any of your DPS. It doesn't matter. Again, you could put him with the other Hoshina. In fact, he's basically every character's best friend. Because what he does is he gives them crit, he gives them speed, he gives them a blast attack or a single target, which is 2/3 of, actually that's the wide majority of what characters are doing. There's only blast attack, AoEs, and single target, and he is doing 2/3 of those. So, and that's pretty much it. So he's gonna, and the characters that do adjacent hits, those are called blast attack. If that wasn't clear, like again, he's doing blast attack, even though technically it's an AOE, it doesn't count as an AOE. Rin is an AOE character, for example. So he's able to give you all that. So like he just does a lot of increases for your character, and the crit bonus on his what is it, first stoop is extremely strong, right? So keep that in mind. Now, I wanted to kind of move on from some of these 4 stars here, and we'll come back a little bit. And we'll talk about kind of how some of these characters, they start breaking with their weapons. Up to this point, I haven't talked a lot about weapons because I am considering them as I go. And this is more a knock against Kaiju in that, for example, and it's not like a huge knock, like a big problem. For example, is she S? She may be S. She may be S, man. No, I'll put her SS. Okay. But the thing is, for one, she's got a new weapon type, which absolutely blows. She's a limited character, so that also blows. Her and her weapon are not going to be on the gacha after it ends. Keep that in mind. There's going to be another limited banner at some point. It may even be on the first. Who knows? But she won't be on it. So, so she's going to be gone. But what I will say is, while she is okay with just her base kit, so much of what she does is tied to her weapon. Like you actually need her weapon to really see what she can do. And while other characters have other alternative options, that applies largely to all of them. They really want their primary weapon, but you can give Hoshina another weapon and he would be really solid. I wouldn't give him the other Hoshina's 5-star weapon. I would probably consider one of the other ones because that one has a passive that's tied to AoE attacks, which this Hoshina does not have. Again, he has a blast attack instead, the numbers 10 Hoshina. But you can give Reno other rifles because there's like a dozen freaking rifles, right? Sagan's only limited. So like she is a character that if she doesn't have that weapon, I think she actually drops to A rank without the weapon, flat out. Her 4-star variant is so bad, it's comically bad. So I think without that, she goes all the way down to A rank. But her weapon is amazing. So now to talk about the quality of the character, the counters, the aggro draw, the first dupe giving crit damage, which is insane, especially as a pair alongside a crit heavy character like that Hoshina. They make up 2/4 of the best team. However, again, she does really need that first dupe to be great. In that scenario. Otherwise, I'd probably just argue to use somebody else like Isao. Anyway, she does literally everything except for one thing. She has a heal, she has a revive, and although I've never needed the revive at all, there's nothing in the game that says I need a revive. The only thing she doesn't do is she doesn't protect you and your characters from AoE attacks. Yeah. So she draws aggro to herself. She does all these things. I don't really care that she doesn't plate break on the counters. That would probably be broken as shit. Sorry for that. But she doesn't protect your characters from those AoE hits. So most of the big, like, especially the identified kaiju, they are going to have hits that are literally AoE hits, multi-target moves, whatever. And she doesn't shield anybody else. She gets a fat shield for herself. It's a really big shield, but it's only for herself. And she does draw aggro. She has a guaranteed taunt. If you're doing a single target hit, you are going to hit her. But she's not able to. And so you will have situations where your team alongside her will die if they're not adequately leveled up, but they're going to get pressured for sure. So that's the only thing that's truly missing from Sagan's kit, which is funny because that makes a lot of sense. I mean, she wants to protect characters in the story, but she's used to being like a lone ranger out there doing whatever she does, right? So it's funny. But that's the one thing she doesn't do. And that is the one thing that Isao does do particularly well as well. I mean, he does a couple things, but we'll get to him later. Ihuru. He is, I mean, he's just a character we just don't need right now. Like, he's got damage over time. He's got dual element. Those are both really good. He's also got lightning-based support. Now, if the next character or a character soon, whenever that character comes out, if they are like a lightning character, then all of a sudden he may shoot up this list. I don't know. But he's not a character that you really need for mostly anything right now. He's pretty much a niche pick. There's a few niche picks in this game that you don't have to consider using whatsoever. Speaking of revive, did you know that in her dupes, she has a passive where she revives an ally? Ridiculous effect. But again, there's nothing that you need that for. So just don't need it. There's not a piece of content in this game. Maybe if they release like a brutal difficulty story mode or something. I mean, the story is not even replayable. So what even is the point? But you don't need it. So anyway, she's just a healer. But she does do a couple other things that are really good. The ultimate charge rate is the most underrated thing in her kit. She really makes other characters get to their ultimate much faster. The other Mina really benefits from that. In fact, I thought it was hilarious. In the other Mina's trial run, they put Akari on the team so you could use that. They know what they were doing. Like, the other Mina was quite literally designed in a way that she doesn't line up perfectly with her passive and with her effect for her attack. They purposely did that. But Akari fixes that problem. Anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But other than that, I mean, you don't necessarily need a dedicated healer because, again, there's not, for the 10th time, there's nothing that truly pressures you once you get past a certain level point. However, if you're trying to use characters that are on the fringe, not high enough leveled, she is very valuable and very strong. But I kind of realized that around the time that my characters were, like, capping out at, like, level 80, I kind of realized I was like, she's really good, but I feel like I could just blow stuff up. And sure enough, that was the case. But again, as the only healer in the game, I'll also give her some credit there. AG and KG, both going in B. They've got some fun stuff. Like there's a stun on one of them. There's poison on the other. Dual element blunt as well on AG, I believe is the one right there. Like there's not any reason to use these characters. Like, there's just not. The KG, the old man, he would have been good if they didn't cap his poison. He's got a poison which scales off of the enemy's HP, which is actually unique. All the other damage over times in the game scale off of the character's attack. But they cap it at a percentage of the attack stat. So they knew that could have been a problem. I mean, not that there's anything in the game, but they knew it could have been a problem, so they capped it. So ultimately, that kind of holds them back. But you've got some other utility stuff in these guys, just not a lot of reason to go out of your way to use them, unlike the other 4-star characters up to this point. Kikaru, I am going to. Do I place her in S? I think Kikaru is actually legitimately good. I think. This is where like I would probably have a tier break and put her in A+, personally, but I'll round up. I would probably have a tier break and put her in A+. Yeah. Okay. So the problem with Kikaru is that she's basically Gen light, which is pretty funny given their relationship. At least early game, like she's trying to get her tip-top shape stacks up, so she's got to use her skills a few times. And then after that, she tries to turn into like this crit hitting, defense lowering, big hitting single target character. But I just think that for 99% of the fight, Gen's just a better character. She's going to do better damage on a single enemy, but Gen also, again, is a different situation. But he's got that blast attack ultimate too, or is it an AoE? One of the two. So she's kind of Gen light, but again, she's good. Like I think she's good, and I do like her adjacent hit. She hits pretty hard on it. That's all I can truly say. Frankly, that's all I can truly say. Thinking about Hoshina and Gen, I think they're gonna. Hoshina's doing the same thing she's doing, except he doesn't have to worry about stacks. Like pre-resonance Hoshina. I mean, her value in the defense down is strong, especially when you get the dupe where it extends it another turn. But it's only on her ultimate. There's another character in here who has a defense down. Oh, it's Kafka, right? Yeah, I'm gonna slide her down. I think that Gen, who's not on the list, is going to suppress her further. Like Gen and Hoshina both doing what she wants to do early is just going to suppress her. You don't need, for the record, you don't need more than one DPS on a team, but you certainly don't need more than two. I mean, and so with that logic in mind, I don't think it's defensible to put her higher but I do think she's really good. Like, if you don't have one of those characters, I think she's a character you should consider using, but I can't put her higher. Rio. Considering putting him in A, he's another like A+ for me. But I'll keep him in S as part of the big trio of support characters. I think those three are the definitive support characters in the game. I think the first two are better. But Rio does a couple things that are fun. He has a speed increase. I believe he's got a damage increase on the ultimate as well. But he also does a team-wide attack increase. And then he also, at the start of the battle, I think this is locked to a dupe or not, also increases your or maybe it's the last passive he unlocks. So he does a team-wide one just all the time on his passive, and then he's got those extra 3 passives on the left side. I think that's where it is. It's either there or the dupe. But anyway, for the first few turns, he increases attack too. It's nothing crazy, but it is what it is. I have to go back and do some calculations. I think this game really favors things like slash damage up, for example, or like an actual damage dealt as opposed to an attack increase in terms of the way that it adds all this stuff together and calculates the damage. Because I feel like I get bigger bursts when I use the other two, and it's not close. Like, it's not close. Now, you could use all 3 with a character like Hoshina and blow whatever up. It doesn't matter. It truly does not matter. The only time you would be a little bit annoyed is if you have like an element resistance, but you don't need the plate break. You just don't. You don't. It is what it is. Because he just does so much damage. But if it's not Hoshina in that spot, I'm not doing all 3 of these characters. Like, you could mega buff Kaiju number 8 and run that exact team in S right now if you want to. You could do that. But you don't need to do that. And then I'd argue Hoshina is just better early anyway, because he's at least mowing down adjacent targets. And the other 3 aren't going to do any damage anyway. That's the one thing about those supports is they don't really do any damage. Ashiro tries to with her ultimate. I say tries to, but she doesn't really do anything. Okay. So here are the next, I'll say the next 3 characters are the 3 characters, because I moved her up, I think most people get the tightest about. I've seen the most defense for these 3 characters. I've seen the most defense for these next 3 characters. Oh man, so I've spent a lot of the video alluding to Ashiro. And so I think she's got value. Just for context, when the first raid rolled around, I did a video and I said, "Hey, she's made to destroy this," because she is. She's made to be really good against giant boss characters. However, the one key thing I didn't realize at the time, because I hadn't tested her at that time, I was just going based solely off kit, is that the way that she gets her stacks, you have to either prolong it or get her ultimate faster. Because more often than not, she gets that 100% the turn before her ultimate. And so how do you get to the ultimate faster? I believe her weapon has effect charge gauge up as well. But how do you get there? Well, you could do, assuming that the weapon has it, you'd want to put on the primary weapon. Secondly, you could get a unipart on. You could get the unipart set for that, which I wouldn't do that. I would do crit damage for the record. But you could get the middle armor piece for effect gauge up. That may be enough. I don't believe it is, but otherwise Akari has that combat skill that increases your charge rate. You pop that turn 1, and then all of a sudden the problem goes away. I had a full video detailing this. So I did my first one where I talked about how great she is. Somebody told me, hey, this is actually a problem with her, and I checked it out, and I was like, actually, this is true. This is legit. This is actually a problem. So it's not necessarily a problem they're going to change, because I'm pretty sure she was designed that way intentionally. So she didn't look like too strong of a character relative to the rest of the field on launch, but then Hoshina pops in like a few weeks later and just, even Sagan, like Sagan's damage over time with the counters, with the AoE hits there and the support effect she has, like she just kind of does a lot of damage, in aggregate, right? So anyway, Ashiro, I said all that to say I'm going to put her in A tier. Future D-free here, you're not going to see anything, but really quick, I forgot to mention that with Mina, she's also really dependent on potentially following up to get that ultimate charge, but it is nice that when she has that extra crit rate in there, she's able to use that on her other like follow-up hits as well, and she can get it for the duration of an entire turn, which is pretty good when she's got that. I don't think she's as good as the other one. I don't think she's also A+. She's probably closer to A- for me, but I'll leave her an A. And that's not bad. I mean, that's not bad. The only characters above her are like definitively better characters, and the support characters, which, like I said in the beginning, some people may have a gripe with support characters being high because of a tier, like a rarity thing, but it is what it is to me. Hoshina, also A tier. So Hoshina's kind of fun. He's one of the characters. Him and Rin are two characters that don't have their videos out yet. He's kind of fun. So firstly, Hoshina is made to be an AoE character throughout the fight, and he's made to blow up small kaiju. He's got a crit rate, crit damage focus. So he also, with the ultimate, he's got a single target move. I don't think the modifiers all that great. That's another thing about Hoshina 10 is his modifiers are just really high across the board. They certainly, that's the biggest reason why he just is so outperforming everyone else, is the modifiers are ridiculously high. Anyway, with him, it's funny, I've got him ranked as the third best Hoshina in the game. Anyway, with him, my main takeaway with him always has been and remains to be, similar to Kikuru, and I guess Asura too, technically, there are just better characters that do the same thing. I had somebody asking me the other day why this Hoshina was ranked kind of low. And I said, firstly, I think there's a lot of good characters in the game. But I think there are characters that do the exact same thing. They overlap. There's a Venn diagram. It overlaps a lot between these skill sets of these characters. And so if you're presented with the opportunity to choose between these 3 or 4 or 5 different characters that all do the same thing, you're going to choose several of them before you choose the Hoshina. That's just the point, right? It was the exact argument I made about Kikuru earlier. Exact same argument. And so that's where I think he gets lowered as well. He gets a little bit suppressed. Now, if there was another character that do similar things, then that's fine. But I will say, I think he's a better AoE character than Rin. Rin is kind of just... Yeah, Rin is just, I don't know. We'll get to her in a second. But this Hoshina, man, he's certainly interesting, especially with his weapon. The bonus he gets from that is really good. I wanted to pull up Rin. Oh, by the way, this is a tier list on Game With. They've got basically all the 5 stars in S, and then Rin as the lone 5-star in A. And then they also have this ranking vote here for how players were rating characters. Hoshina is at 19 as the 3rd best character in the game. And Rin is down here as the 10th best character in the game. Mina is the 9th best character in the game. I just think these are pretty interesting. Like, I mostly agree with a lot of this placement, but it just kind of depends on some of these characters. And I'm not basing my list off of this. The reason I had this open is because they actually have a thing here where I can just show you the character kits without needing to plug in my phone. But we're going to move on to Rin now. So here's the thing with Rin. Because she is an AoE character, all of her modifiers are dirt low. They're all dirt low. I mean, 55. These may be level 1s, but they're not going much higher. I mean, these are capping at this is capping at 90. This is capping at 100. Like, these aren't going much higher if they are level 1s. But her modifiers are dirt low. Like 84 on the ultimate, but it's always to all kaiju, to all kaiju, to all kaiju. Actually, this is the normal attack. It's only a single target move. It just has a low modifier just in general, I guess. But I don't think those have good modifiers anyway. Just like the follow-ups, they don't typically have high numbers. I will say this is actually pretty unique. She's the only character I'm pretty sure in the game that does this, unless Hoshina does it. A follow-up AoE is actually really good. Like, you're just not going to see that very often. And it charges 60 to the gauge. That's actually pretty good, I'll admit. Because what that does is, oh man, if she was dual element, she would be ridiculous, even with these low modifiers. Anyway, it may mess around and let her break somebody else. So like follow-ups typically will target the already broken character. But I would love if they targeted non-broken characters so you could get another break. But anyway, each time this character attacks a kaiju, applies damage dealt plus 2% from 5 stacks. So this is kind of offsetting a little bit. This will help her as she goes. This should stack 3 at a time. I have to confirm that. but it's just stacked 3 at a time. But max stacks are 5. It also goes up in here, I believe. Yeah, max stack count of damage goes up by 2 in the 4th passive. And so this is the most important passive she has right here. If she gets to this passive, all of a sudden, which is the 4th dupe, all of a sudden she gets much better, and she will perform exponentially better because she will have more of that. The crit bonus she also gets on the first dupe after causing a core exposed for 2 turns is really good, especially when, again, she's got that AoE on basically everything. So she's got some fun stuff in here, but we go back to the beginning. Do you need that? No. No. Why would you need that? I'm just going to take a blast attacking character, right? Like even Kikaru. I'm taking Kikaru. I'm taking Hoshina pre-resonance. I'm taking Gen Ding Ding Ding, the definitive blast attack character, who we still haven't got to yet. I'm taking like 5 characters before Ren. It just is what it is. I think I've seen a couple times where there's been more than 3 enemies, but that's not very common at all. I think I've seen like 4 or 5 one time on like a very specific stage. I could be totally misremembering this, but most of the time you're going to see 3 or less. And so with that being the case, I could always just adjacent hit. Now, the one problem with blast attack adjacent hits is if you break the chain somewhere, then all of a sudden you're not able to hit 3 characters. Like if you hit the middle guy and kill the middle guy, all of a sudden it turns into a single target move if you got dudes on the left and right side. Or if you defeat the right guy and you attack either spot, it all of a sudden, of course, is just a 2 target move, right? And that's how those work, as opposed to just like, for example, with the AoE moves, if you defeat the middle guy and there's 2 on each side, or 1 on each side, of course, 2 enemies left, the AoEs are still going to hit everybody. So that's the key difference, and that's why the modifiers are lower on those moves. But anyway, so let's say I think she's B tier. Boom, boom, boom. She's going to be the lowest rated 5-star in the game. That's not to say she's not better than these guys, because I do think she is. My list is just first come, first served. All right, so now we get into a hyper good trio. Actually, we'll get Kafka out of the way really quick. Kafka's A tier. Kafka is actually really good. Now, I don't think you should go out of your way to build Kafka, but he's pretty good. So, firstly, he is a character that everyone gets for free along with his weapon, fully maxed, ascended, right? So keep that in mind. So that in and of itself gives him grace. Secondly, he is a character who's got 2 entirely different movesets, which is actually not a bad thing. So pre-transformation, he does a defense down, one of only 2 characters in the game that does it, and I believe his is stronger than Kikaru's is as well. I'll pull him up here if they've got... where's Kafka? Yeah, I'm pretty sure his is stronger by a good bit than Kikaru's. Where's it at? Combat skill, okay. 16% as the base. I'm pretty sure these are just, again, level 1 skills. But anyway, there's that. He also transforms into... We were just talking about AoEs, right? It's funny. He turns into a blunt AoE, which is... He's the only character in the game that does that post-transformation. He gets heavy stat increases on transformation across the board. Also, unlike the other Kaiju, he's actually able to use uniparts. The weapon effect... the weapon falls off, but the effect of the weapon will, if it's got like a few turn duration on it or whatever, it will still be applied post-transformation until it falls off. But the uniparts don't fall off. He keeps the uniparts, which is actually pretty interesting. That's actually pretty interesting. And then post-transformation, again, he turns into the AoE and then turns into like a single damage DPS with a bunch of stat increases across the board, similar to the other Kaiju. And he also starts off with 100% ultimate gauge, I believe, post. It's in here somewhere. Post-transformation, he typically takes a consecutive turn. Anyway, yeah, he's pretty good. I think he's a character that if you're looking for a character to invest in, I think he's a solid pick. Now, he's pretty low on my list relative to the rest of the field, but he's a character to invest in. Now, all 3 of these characters are SS or S. All of them are SSRS. So the one character that's maybe a bit of a question mark. Like I because I have Sagan in SS, I don't think it's fair to put him in SS as well. I think he's not as good as Sagan personally, and it's not because of anything other than a couple of minor things. Firstly, They're both good supports. However, he has a damage dealt one when they've got shields. And again, he does a team-wide shield. I value that pretty highly. But again, Sagan's got things he has taking up dupe slots. She's got them based in her kit. So he also does, on his ultimate, his weapon, he does ally damage reduction, I believe. So, like, he's doing protecting things that are good for your team. But she's got the revives and heals built into her kit. She's not wasting, quote unquote, wasting dupe slots for those like he is. He's also got attack scaling, so he does less damage on the normal, on the follow-up, which he's going to trigger consistently throughout the fight, of course. And then secondly, she's also got other things like damage over time with the burn. She's got the counter, so she's going to be a more consistent damager. She doesn't shield everybody else, but she shields herself, and she draws guaranteed hits. He does not draw guaranteed hits. He has an increased likelihood to draw the hits, but they're not 100% guaranteed. She draws them 100% guaranteed. And by the way, I'm just realizing we're missing some 4-stars. We're missing 4-star Kikuru. Maybe just her. I'm realizing we're missing 4-star Kikuru. Because this matters. And we're missing Tay. We're missing Keita. I'll add these characters in. We're missing Aoi, Haruichi. We're missing a number of characters. Reno. We're missing like 5 4-stars. I'll add them in right now. But, yeah, all that stuff matters. And so it's a very different circumstance. If you need just a dedicated protector, he is the best one in the game. Right? Even though they function differently, they've got some overlap. They function differently, same role and all that. He is the best one in the game, I think. But I think that with her ultimate bonus, her first dupe bonus, if we're going to consider his dupes, her damage over time, I think she is the better character overall. But Isao is certainly no slouch. Like, he is absolutely... I think this is where I would have a tier break as well. I think for him and Kaiju... Did I mention Kaiju? But for him, for sure, I would have S+. But I think I'm going to hold him back just because she is higher. And also, she's dual element. Like, I think that's another thing, too, that needs to be mentioned here. She's got the element on there, too, with a physical attack in Blunt. Like, she's good. Like, that's the best type pairing in the entire game with Blunt and Fire. Like, she's really good. So I'll put her there. All right, next in is 2 other dual element characters, and they're both going SS. They're 2 of the best characters in the game, period. Gen is the best plate breaker in the game, firstly. Having shot and slash, the 2 most common types. He also can account for the physical hits, of course, so he's breaking almost every type of plate, aside from the elemental or blunt, which again, Sagan, ding, ding, ding. He is the best plate breaker in the game. And he's constantly doing those AoE moves. So there's that. Or blast attack moves. His damage is solid. It's nothing like crazy, but he's going to hit all those characters. He's the best plate breaker in the game, and it's just that simple. Reno. Reno's a fun one. He does good damage. He does extra damage whenever you hit. He's also got the action order reduction. He's got the freeze in there, too. He's got a lot of utility stuff. So, extremely strong character. Another one that is easily one of the best characters in the game and worth considering. I think these are the 4 best characters in the game right now overall. And 3 of them were on new gachas. Gen is the only one that's up here that was a new release character, or a standard release character. Now, I need to add those other 4-star characters in here. So, I'm going to steal these images overall because I don't have them personally. I think this is all of the characters. Yeah, we legit were missing like 5 4-stars. We legit were missing 5 4-stars, dude. That's kind of crazy. So I really like Tay, for example. I'll spend this time to talk about Tay. If you didn't see my video on Tay, I would recommend checking it out. She does really good damage. Like, consistently did really good damage. She's able to do the damage over time as well, and then she's got a damage over time multiplier bonus, and she does really good with that. She's got the strongest damage over time, fire, all that stuff in the game right now. So if you need that, that's good. But the problem is you don't need that for anything. Like I was saying, like, there's just not a need for like any of this stuff in the game right now. And unfortunately, several of these characters are trying to do similar things. You just don't need this stuff. So Tay is a good character, though, but I'll place her in B tier for now. I just don't think that she's A quality, but she's good. 4-star Kikuru. I have yet to see this myself, but I've heard that she's one of the strongest damage dealers in the game when she's fully built up. I'll have to confirm that myself, but until then, I'll leave her in B. Haruichi, he is another character trying to do some similar stuff. He's got, what is it, wind over time? No. He's not. He's actually like a support character. He is actually kind of unique. There's just no need for him yet either, but he's kind of unique. Like he had, if I remember correctly, buff clears, debuff clears, things like that. Kind of unique. You just don't need it. You just don't need it though. But maybe down the road we come back and say, man, I could really use that. I know when I was trying to beat Spec Ops 4, before I realized that, hey, I just need to love my characters more, I was considering using him. And there's that. By the way, on the topic of Kikaru, this is why she came to mind earlier. I was talking about characters drawing aggro. She's got a mechanic where I think her and Akari both have it, or maybe it's just her. She's got a mechanic where you basically, when she gets low on health, it's not stealth. KG has a stealth mechanic as well, for the record. I didn't bring that up. But she has a decreased likelihood of taking a hit, basically. It's kind of funny. So less likely to take a hit, right? So that's pretty funny. Dual element, dual type, has a freeze. I think the ice is only on the ultimate for Kota. I believe it's only on the ult. Freeze grenade there. I don't really think you need him. He's got attack debuff. Just another character you just don't need, unfortunately. And he's also, that's right, he's also got the shield. He's another defender character that has kind of a shield. He's trying to be like, I guess I called him initially like a baby version of Isao, but no, he's actually a baby version of Sagan with that, because he's also doing the shield, but if I remember correctly, it's only for himself as well. He has a chance to draw aggro, so that's a mechanic that's straight out of Isao's kit. After attacking a normal attack against the Kaiju that already has a debuff or ailment, applies a shield for 1 turn. It's a weak shield though. Yeah, so he gives the shield to himself. Turn duration of shield goes up. Yeah, just shield application multiplier goes up. He has a heal here after activating the ultimate. That's straight out of Isao, I believe. So maybe he's like a mini mix. Applies damage taken to this unit. He's very selfish, which is the trend with Sagan though. Aoi, just another character you don't need. He has a DOT as well, so there you go. Everyone kind of flew into beats here. Can I just? I guess I'll just shuffle this a little bit more. There we go. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like that. It took me 40 minutes to get here. I thought this was going to be like a 20-minute video max. If you shuffle to the end, do not leave me comments about why a character is in a certain spot if you just shifted all the way to the end of the video and didn't watch any of the context. Do not. I swear to you, do not. All you need to do, don't ask me, all you need to do is scrub to the part of the video where I talk about that character. Because that's another thing and I don't blame people, but with tier list, people love to do that more than anything else. If you skip to the end of the video, understand that I explained every single character here. Every single one. That's why the video is long. Every single one. So please, go to the part where you see me talking about that character and listen there. Don't ask me. If you don't agree, that's one thing. Of course, if you don't agree, let me know in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, people typically don't always agree with tier lists. It is what it is. I can't do anything about that, but hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you happen to be new. I am still working on my learning and understanding of all these characters. There's still so much to them that I'm still figuring out. All their dupes, I don't have all their dupes committed to memory. I have a good bit of them, but not all of them. Things like that. So just, again, the game's not even a month old. So give me a little bit of time with that. And these will continue to get better and better and better and more clear and more explained as well. So thank you. I appreciate it. I'll see you later.